Billboard, baby, do a leap and make them dance when it come on. Everybody looking.
Hey, Vincy Lou Who, how are you? How goes it? Got some grooving music going on tonight. I say to myself, you're so tender. Ori! Hey, Darlene, how are you? Welcome to Chaos. Does anybody know, Ori? I don't know if you told me or not, Nina, if you told me or not. Am I reading any certain chapters tonight or what? Okay, I'll just start at the beginning and go from there then. I couldn't remember I was trying to look back and see if she had told me. Some authors want certain things and some don't, and Nina tells me, and then it goes through one ear and out the other, and I totally forget. And yeah, so I guess it was last night I was thinking about. It doesn't take much for me to go crazy. Whew. Is RB going to be here tonight? My hair's sticking up for. Yeah. I'm going to get my hair cut tomorrow. Trust me, it needs it. You probably won't be able to tell, but I will. Shoo. Okay, cool. I didn't know she was in a completely different time zone, like on the other side of the world. And because like last night's author was in Australia, so there was 13 hours difference. Sometimes if they're from the UK or something, it'll be like 6 hours difference, which means it's like 1 o'clock in the morning there. So I never knew. Vince, is the music too loud? See? So you get it. It's like daytime there. All right, there she is. It is she, right? Yeah, she. Okay. Sometimes I never know. Oh no, you can't go with the yawning. The yawning is. I do this every night. I can sit in there on the couch and watch TV, or piddle on my tablet or whatever. Never yawn. I'll get in here with this, start talking, and I'll start yawning. It'll disappear. Rose. Okay. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started. I didn't have a cover photo, so you guys will have anybody that not familiar with the book will have to go to the book nook and check it out because I don't have it unless Nina sends it to me and I can show you from there. So let's go ahead and get started. It's called Thorne. Um, and we're going to start with volume 1. And it's an innocent young woman, an older, damaged man, one dark contract. That almost sounds like me and my man. He's 20 years older than me. Only I'm not quite so innocent, so I have to tell him about this. Okay, so what left you on before I get started? I don't know why it does this. I complain about this every night, so I don't know. Yes, you can. Chapter 1. Okay, here. My good PA sent this. This is the complete series, volumes 1 through 3. So, and I'm just going to start with chapter 1, so it'll go through. Thank you, Miss Ori. Rose, darling, Ori is Nina. So she has many names. Kaz, bitch. We just call her whatever. She answers to most everything. So just so you know. Chapter 1. I was a monster, a sadistic prick, really. I was sure it had something to do with the fact that my mother was a drunk, a liar, a greedy manipulator who had made me tell lies that changed my life forever. Vancy, look who's trying to snooze over here. I tried to fix my past. I had in many areas. I had little to no contact with my mother. I devoted much of my life to worthy causes, to the underdog, and I'd built a bond with a friend whom I would trust with my life. In fact, I do. But at 33 years old, I still hadn't been able to trust women in the romantic sense. I didn't even want to try. I certainly didn't want to fall in love, and I had pretty much worked out my life so that I was fulfilled both sexually and professionally without any attachment. It had been working out pretty fucking well my entire adult life. Oops. Sorry y'all, I hit the off button. But I should but I should have known from the beginning that she would be different. I should have listened to my instincts. Just how different I would have never been able to guess. Her name was Victoria. Virtuous, innocent, young, naive. And I would learn. Alone, very alone. Lonely, sad. Her eyes were boundless with emotion. Brown, big, in different contrast to her long, blonde, ridiculously sexy hair. I met her at a hole in the wall coffee shop one morning when I met with a small group of older teenaged boys to pick their brains regarding a proposed space for a local community center. I had been fighting the tobacco industry for years, a cause I was deeply connected to, and I was finally getting closer to actually making a difference with this project. These boys knew all too well what growing up here was like, and so did I. The tobacco guys ruled, and the younger generations paid the price. It was the land of the haves and the have nots, and it almost always revolved around tobacco royalty. When Victoria walked over to our table, I'll never forget how her cheeks flushed crimson and her breathing hitched with the rise and fall of her huge breast. She was petite, I'll bet for her breast that could barely be contained in her hideous pink waitressing uniform. She took her notepad into her shaky hands and struggled to make eye contact. Every single boy at the table stared at her. She couldn't have been that much older than them. When our eyes met, I could feel our attraction. I could feel her attraction to me. She quickly turned her gaze back down to the floor, her hands fidgeting with the pen. I loved her shyness. May I take your order? And no, I don't do Australian accents. Thank you. May I take? I don't do any accents, but this good old Southern, and I can sometimes try to not do an accent. Period, as far as American goes. But yes, I don't do accents. I try, and they're awful. The boys nudged one another and tossed glances in my direction. A few of them snickered. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. But feeling bad for a woman was not my style. Still, she must have gotten this kind of attention all the time. What happened to my song? You're going to give me an ad in the middle? Okay, that's just weird. Okay. Wouldn't have paid any attention, but I just happened to love that song. Um, Hi, Sebastian. Um, the boys nudged one another and tossed glances in my direction. A few of them snickered. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. But feeling bad for a woman was not my style. Still, she must have gotten this kind of attention all the time, and her almost debilitating shyness mustn't have helped. Just a round of coffee and varied pastries would be fine. I looked at the name tag above her right breast and looked back up. Victoria. Okay, she stammered and quickly turned away from us without making any eye contact. I turned to the boys. You boys going to be okay? Need a tissue for the drool? We laughed and the tension dissolved. We resumed our chat, ate, and drank without much more fanfare, and I left there knowing I'd be back. In fact, going there to have my coffee would become a morning ritual on my way into downtown Winston-Salem almost every workday. Ooh, it does work. My driver, Ralph, who waited for me outside, actually became addicted to the coffee there. I had to admit, a better cup of coffee was hard to find anywhere else. At first, I ignored her. I liked watching her unease in my presence. I was sadistic that way, and good looks had never been my weakness. Let's just say I was blessed in that department. My looks and charm hid my inner wickedness, a duplicitous veil, a cover to my true self. That's a word you don't read every day. I decided to slowly unravel her, tortuously slow. Watch her blush and squirm, force her to stay in my presence longer than was comfortable for her. As I got to know little things about her, probed her with questions. I watched her become more visibly relaxed the more I asked her, but never fully. She had a habit of sucking her bottom lip and fidgeting with her pen and notebook that captivated me in a way I had never been captivated before. She was gorgeous in that subtle way that made me hard. I knew I'd have her. I knew I'd have her on my terms. If she was looking for a sweet, romantic guy to sweep her off her feet, she would be sorely mistaken. You have family around here, Victoria? I sipped my coffee slowly, forcing her to make eye contact with me. I watched her eyes follow my fingertips across the rim of my mug, her mouth opening slightly to try to suck in more air. I could see my effect on her every time we spoke. No, I have been alone a long time. My parents died when I was very young. She tucked a strand of loose hair behind her ear and looked up at me through long lashes. I rent a, I rent a studio apartment right over there, across the street. She pointed to a small home. I could tell she was embarrassed at her station in life compared to mine. I had made quite a success of my life for my age. I knew I was intimidating, but somehow I just couldn't soften. And friends? She shifted, looking around the shop to make sure another customer wasn't in need of her service. I saw the owner smile at her and wave off her worry. After getting my music degree on scholarship, most of my friends moved back home to be with their families. I'm just doing this until I can get a real job. Scholarship, beauty, and brains? She flushed in embarrassment at my compliment. Not smart, just beautiful. She blushed again and spoke softly, fidgeting as she did. Well, I was able to go on scholarship because of music, but I also got a second scholarship based on test scores in math. I minored in business, and luckily, I was able to get my degree debt free. She fascinated me, but I didn't want to admit that, so instead, I would say, and nod my head to indicate that I was done with her and she'd leave my table. Often I'd see her steal a glance in my direction to see if I was still paying her any attention, which always made me smile. Week after week after week, I would visit. The more I got to know her, the more I liked her, wanted her. I was attracted to her looks, her personality, her little mannerisms, but I was also attracted to her intellect. She was fucking bright, really bright, sharp, quick witted at times. I had never connected intellectually with a woman that way. I was the way I was with her. Sometimes I paid full attention to her, and sometimes I completely ignored her. I kept her off balance on purpose. It was about control. I wanted full control of her, of my life. That was how I stayed sane. That was what kept me grounded in control of my out of control life. Order. I lived by it. No attachments, no messy relationships, no emotions. Shirley! Somebody needs to holler at Jackie. She's missing this. And it had been working extremely well, a two-way street. I wasn't hard it wasn't hard to find a woman who wanted to be submissive to my dominant games. Uh Nina, there's your girl again. It was a consensual. I say wanted to be submissive to my dominant games. It was a consensual, easy, but deep down, I knew I was rushing things with Victoria. I could not deny my attraction to her. I could not deny I wanted her. I could not deny my need to make her mine, perversely mine. But deep down, I knew I was rushing things with Victoria. I could not deny my attraction to her. I could not deny I wanted her. I could not deny my need to make her mine, perversely mine. I had never pursued a woman like this. I had always done things in the most formalized way, carefully and unemotionally. I lied to myself. I told myself this would be no different than the others, that the arrangement I had in mind for her would be perfect. It would be just the thing to get her on her feet. She would benefit as much as I would from it. When I went in one morning and sat in my usual corner table, I found her co-workers grouped around her in a tight circle, a candle in the center of a jelly donut. They were singing happy birthday. I could see the red hue of her face from all the way across the room. It made my cock twitch and I smiled. Nina, Vinci, are you guys handling this? I smiled, adjusting myself discreetly. They cheered and clapped for her, and our eyes met. Damn, she was so beautiful, so natural. Brian is not part of. Oh, okay, never mind. Thank you, ladies. They cheered and clapped for her, and our eyes met. Damn, she was so beautiful, so natural. My decision was made there and then to tell her what I had in mind for her, an arrangement that would be beneficial to the both of us. Perfectly, really. Hi, she breathed heavily, finally coming over to my table. Sorry. I see it's your birthday. She giggled and nodded. How old are you? 25? She looked much younger. Not that 25 was old, and somehow this relieved me. Do you have something other than this waitressing outfit I might be able to see you in? I tugged the hem of her skirt, drawing the front of her thighs against the table. Look at me, Victoria. I saw the swell of her breast again. I could almost hear the pounding of her heart. If I could have fucked her right then and there, I would have. Well, do you? Yes. Of course I do, William. I loved the way she spoke my name, the way her lips curled and she made the W sound. I stared at them and couldn't wait until she was mine to use those lips in any way I wished. Good. I have something I'd like to talk to you about. I'll pick you up for dinner at 7 p.m. Be ready. What? Dinner? You really? Shh. I pressed a finger to her lips and stood. I ran my thumb across the bottom lip of her mouth, of her opened mouth, and watched her eyes close. See you at 7. And I walked away. I took her to a cozy little Italian restaurant with the checkered tablecloths and the kerosene lit candle in the center. When we were finally seated and she had removed her coat, I got down to business. Victoria, I have a proposition for you. Oh? She asked timidly. I know you have struggled and that you don't have much, if any, family. And I started thinking, I'd like to help you. I am in need of a personal assistant and getting to know you over these last few months. I know you would be perfect for the job. You can work out of my home office most of the time and you can live in one of my guest suites free of charge. I will pay you well. Oh, she said again, her face crestfallen. I think she was hoping for more. I take that as a no. I watched her shift uncomfortably in her chair. Well, no, I mean, I flagged down the waiter. I wasn't about to play games. I could easily find another personal assistant, and I was not a very patient man. Check, please. Wait, William, I would love to work for you. I just don't know what it would entail. I don't even know what you do. Do I really have the experience you're looking for? I smirked. Oh, Victoria, you're exactly what I'm looking for. What I do is of no concern to you. What should matter to you is that I am rich, I am in need of an assistant, and I will take care of your needs. She shifted. She didn't understand me. I'm sure she was confused with my signals, my mixed messages, but I wasn't ready to reveal my true intentions just yet. I wanted her to come to the agreement of her own accord. You seem very nervous, Victoria. I got excruciatingly close to her. I brushed her leg and whispered in her ear, would you like to tell me why? She blushed blushed and shifted so uncomfortably, I thought she might actually be wet. She seemed naturally submissive, but completely unaware of it. How I wanted to find out, but I just continued to let her squirm. She breathed out an exhale that shook, and I couldn't help but smile. Too easy. It's okay. I can find another assistant. I just thought it might help you out. I moved away from her, paying the check. William, I could tell how anxious she felt. I need to tell you something. Okay. Should I be nervous? I joked, trying to stifle how off guard her question caught me. She shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Um, I want to work for you, but is that wise? I mean, she struggled. I think I have a crush on you. She blurted out and put her face in her hands. I unexpectedly chuckled. Somehow her question has set me off kilter, but not now. I exhaled, feeling back in control as I watched her discomfort. Her face, red and confused, peeked out at me through those long strands of her blonde hair. I took her hand and kissed it. Good, I said simply, leaving her on edge and confused. I stood. Looks like you've got some thinking to do, sweetheart. She gasped as a surprised look met my unflinching gaze. I placed my napkin on the table and walked right out of the restaurant, leaving her there alone. I have no idea why I wanted to be so cruel to her in that moment, but I couldn't control it. I fought back my feelings of doubt and continued on my way. The next morning, I went into the coffee shop and found her immediately. It was clear she hadn't slept well, if at all. Those eyes, so emotional, bloodshot, puffy. I had made her cry. I felt a weird sensation, a tiny stab of what? Guilt? No. I shook it off. She would love every minute of being my personal assistant. She would be a natural. She would make an excellent salary, be able to follow her dreams, whatever they may be, and make a life for herself. I forged on. Victoria caught my eye and immediately turned in the other direction. I followed her as she stormed into the back, trying to escape me. Heads turned, but no one bothered to help. I grabbed her arm and pushed her into a corner, and then I kissed her. Hard, unforgiving, and she panted. She struggled to push me off her, but I only intensified the kiss. I didn't expect her to taste as good as she did. I didn't expect how much I would like kissing her. And then she gave in to her emotions, kissing me back as if her life depended on it. That's when I let her go. Why? She panted, trying to find her breath as tears pulled into her eyes. I wanted to kiss her tears away, and I wanted to watch her cry. It was a twisted reaction on my part. I liked knowing that she felt emotional towards me, that she was starting to fall apart under my control where I needed her to be. But it surprised me that I wanted to kiss her tears away at the same time. A little bubble of doubt rose in me again, but I quickly shook the thought from my mind. Why, what? I bit her lower lip, drawing an intake of her breath. I could see her pulse beating fast in her neck, and it made me smile. Why did you just leave me there last night? She was fighting back her tears, her voice low, cracking, and I loved watching the struggles she waged to maintain control. Pretty soon, she would have no control at all. I would be sure of that. Still, I liked watching her fight. I ignored her question and, on total caprice, surprisingly, even myself, I said, you are quitting your job today. You are coming home with me, leaving that shitty apartment behind, and you are becoming my personal assistant. I will have my driver Ralph pick you up in 2 hours, right here. You do not need anything but yourself. I walked out, went home, and then wait for her. I half wondered if she'd actually go through with it, but when Ralph pulled up in front of my house and Victoria stepped out in her waitressing uniform, I knew she wanted this as much as I did. First thing to go would be that hideous uniform. I couldn't wait to see what was waiting for me underneath. I smiled as I watched how unsure she was, wondering what she was getting herself into as she surveyed my private country home. Wow, William, this is, well, it's. Yes, I know, Victoria. It's an impressive home with a lot of history. We have 20 acres here on the Yadkin River. You will have access to all of it. We? She asked. I could hear how nervous she was. Her voice caught and hitched in her throat. She really had no idea what she was getting into. Yes, we. You, me, and my other employee, Jennifer. You will get to know her well. Oh, she stared at the plaque hanging on the front of the house. Charles B. Keene? I didn't feel like having meaningless chit chat, but she stood there, a quivering mess. I could see how painfully uncomfortable she was. She was stalling, her weight shifting from side to side, unsure of her decision, and I couldn't help but humor her at that moment. That was the architect who designed this house back in 1928 for a tobacco company family member. I detest the tobacco industry, so it's mine now. I felt anger rising in me at just the mere thought of the lineage belonging to this house. Their ancestry was long and powerful. I knew that all too well. Um, it will be just the three of us? She was tentative at best to step inside, even as I held the door open for her. It must have dawned on her that she'd be completely secluded here, both inside and out. It seems so big for just. It is big, but it's been furnished to feel like home, and I have made use of the 7 bedrooms. The 12 baths may be excessive, but I do hold retreats here occasionally, conferences. You need not worry. Your living space will be comfortable. I'm sure you'll find it rather inviting for your stay. She nodded, and I began to lose my patience with her. Come in, I ordered. Now. No more small talk. She walked through the door ahead of me. William, I'm not sure I should be. I pushed her inside against the wall and stopped her with a kiss, hard, firm, and completely spontaneous. Fuck. The look of hope on her face startled me, and I straightened up. There was no sense in not being completely honest, straightforward, explained to her exactly what this was and what this wasn't. This is a business. Oh, sorry. Oh, I know what I'm missing. This is a business arrangement. Do not make any mistake about that. You will be trained as my personal assistant. I hope you are not expecting something else. I turned on my heel. She stood frozen in place. Come, I commanded. I will first show you your office, then I will show you where you will live over the course of the next few months. She stammered. I knew she was confused. Um, you will have to work on your vocabulary, Ms. I realized I didn't even know her last name. I just, I was sharp, Kurt. Your last name, Victoria. Surely you have one. She flushed yet again. It was so easy to embarrass her. I knew she wanted to ask me questions. She was so flustered, confused. Rose, she muttered. What? I laughed. You're pulling my leg. She looked down, perplexed. Why is that funny? The fact that my last name was Thorne was no matter in that moment, but the irony was not lost on me. Forget it, Ms. Rose. Follow me. I walked in front of her, trying to hold back my grin as we made our way into the room that would serve as her office. Sit, I ordered, pointing to a chair in front of the large oak desk. She did, and I watched her gulp. I really did enjoy her unease in my presence. I liked knowing I would be able to control her, dominate her. Anything less, and it wouldn't work. I leaned back against the desk in front of her, towering over her, and folded my arms. I will I will expect you to work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, like any normal job. I will have Jennifer take all your measurements and will supply you with a wardrobe. You will wear only clothes provided, especially when I need you to accompany me on meetings, conferences, to my office in town, etc. Jennifer will also fill you in on all the other requirements. She simply nodded. You will be on a 3-month contract up for renewal every 3 months. I can terminate it at any time, as can you. We have that we each have that decision, that right. You following so far? I asked carefully. Yes, she whispered. I noticed her looking off over my head. I turned around to see her staring at a portrait a local artist had painted of me in oils when I was 3, which I almost had forgotten was there. Pay attention, Victoria. She continued to stare at the painting. Your hair, that dark hue, and your eyes, that hazel color, the way they look right now, too. So intense, so determined. You haven't changed much. You know what? I was agitated. This is all laid out in writing, and you can read it all over before we begin next week. This is a waste of time talking like this. I think you will be quite pleased with the salary. You can live here starting tonight if you wish. I am busy and have things to attend to. Let me take let me take you to your area. I barely waited for her to rise from her chair. I could hear her heavy breathing trailing behind me. As I marched quickly upstairs, she struggled to keep up. This is your room, and here is your bathroom. She gasped. Wow, it's beautiful. I ignored her, though I knew she would be pleased with it. I rarely used the same room twice in a row for my personal assistants, and when I did, I remodeled. From the moment I met Victoria and knew she would become my next personal assistant, I knew her living quarters would match her personality. Classic in beauty and tradition, dark cherry woods on the four-poster bed, floral wallpaper and linens, the warmth of a real fireplace, the original wood preserved and restored to its original beauty after one owner dreadfully painted over it, and her own sitting area and balcony overlooking the grounds so she could appreciate and soak in the natural beauty that she reflected. She would need its comfort, considering what was in store for her over the next 3 months. You will eat in the kitchen downstairs, and I will show you the amenities of the grounds, including the use of the swimming pool and spa. Beside your office, you have internet access here, telephone, television. But there are rules regarding the use of these things, all outlined in the paperwork, and you will find that you will not have all that much free time. Any questions? I Forgive me. This is all just a bit overwhelming. I'm confused. You, oh gosh. She paused, flustered, looking down at the ground, blushing. You kissed me earlier. She fought off her embarrassment. You've kissed me twice now. I just don't understand what. I cut her off by holding up my hand. Her questions were endearing, and I didn't know if I could play this game with her any longer. I wanted her. I wanted to devour her, possess her, dominate her. And truth be told, I was going off my usual script, my usual plan. I hadn't done my full research. Jennifer hadn't done any research like she always did, and I had never kissed a personal assistant like that. I needed to pull my shit together. I sat on the bed and motioned for her to come sit beside me. She hesitated. Come here, Victoria. I did not give her much room to refuse me with my tone. She sat on the bed, leaving a large gap between us. I chuckled. Closer. I don't bite. You've known me now for months. I laughed heartier. I did much. I did much worse than bite. I reminded myself. Not only that, I realized I hadn't allowed her to get to know me at all, really, in all those visits to the coffee shop. I didn't want her to know me. Truth be told, I didn't really want to know her all that much either. She complied, but I felt her shudder. I don't understand you. I started to unbutton her blouse. You don't have to. I don't want you to understand me. That's not what this is about. But not a word, I interrupted her, and I saw her eyes widen in fear, anticipation, lust. It was hard to say. How many partners have you had? I slowly removed the shirt of her uniform, leaving her in a tight, cheap, too small black bra that squished her tits. She squirmed and tried to move my hands. I stopped. I ask you a question. I am not going to have you until I have you examined. So just relax. I'm just looking, and I know you want me to. I know you want more. Not yet. Jennifer is my personal physician, among many other things. She will give you a full exam. I don't like the use of condoms, and I have a clean bill of health. Jennifer will show you the documentation. Now, answer me. How many men? She got up from the bed and tried to grab her shirt back. No, Victoria, I growled. In fact, remove your skirt and answer my question. You're embarrassing me, she said quietly, turning away from me. I'm so confused. I don't know what you want. I have no idea what this is. Well, you're about to find out. I walked over to her and put my arms around her waist from behind her and slowly undid the button to her hideous skirt. You do it, or I will, I whispered menacingly into the back of her neck. I felt her quiver as goosebumps appeared on her smooth as alabaster skin. She wanted this as much as I did. Or you can leave this arrangement behind and go back to your measly little apartment and shitty waitressing job. Please, I don't want to ruin our business agreement. I told you I like you, that I have a crush on you. You made it clear that you do not feel the same way. Don't hurt me like this. I'm unnaturally attracted to you. I don't think I can refuse you. She completely caught me off guard yet again, and she was right. Crush was not what I wanted from her. Complete submission. That's what I wanted, needed from her. And I didn't care what she might have wanted. I couldn't escape how unequivocally attracted I was to her. It was unusual for me. How many men, Victoria? I had now removed her skirt and she stood in her bra and panties only. She was fucking gorgeous. A woman this fucking endowed should not be wearing such shitty lingerie. I would have Jennifer take care of that immediately. She was blushing so furiously it made me want her even more. How could someone this gorgeous not know it? Her humiliation was perfect. I was rock hard, and again I wondered if she were wet. I drew a finger across her panties, and she first gasped, shocked, but then let out a whimper when I removed my touch. I laughed. She was soaked. As I suspected, she was a natural submissive. She just didn't know it yet. You are so wet, Victoria. I think you have a little more than a crush on me. So answer me. How many men? I could hear my tone. It must have intimidated the shit out of her. I like that. One, she whispered. One? I asked, shocked, almost angry. Tell the truth. You are telling me that you look like this? You are 25 years old and you have only slept with one man? Defeated, she slumped back down onto the bed, putting her head in her hands like she did at the restaurant, embarrassed. Yes, one serious boyfriend through college. We were going to be married. We never had sex. I was saving myself for marriage, but I found him with another woman. I found him having sex with another woman. My best friend, actually. He said I couldn't expect him to have to not have sex until we were married. Jeez, are you kidding me? Suddenly, my whole plan was shifting. I had a true innocent, and I didn't know how it made me feel. It excited me and it revolted me simultaneously. I knew she was naive, but this, what had I gotten myself into? Have you ever had an orgasm? She whispered. I don't think so. She looked down, even more humiliated. Jeez. Did you come here to work for me, or were you hoping for more? Were you hoping I took away your virginity? That this would be some kind of a romance? I was incredulous. She was a walking contradiction, confusing the shit out of me and my needs at every turn. Just goes to show you can't judge a book by its cover. How y'all like that? She agonized. I don't know, she admitted. I wasn't sure what you wanted exactly, but I guess I was hoping. I ran my fingers through my hair and realized that what I thought was incredibly clear may not have been clear to her at all. If I take away your virginity, you will like it. You will like it a lot, Victoria. Make no mistake about that. But I am not a romantic. In fact, I'm a sadistic by nature and not a romantic one by any means. Do you know what that is? What that means? I was shocked by my own admission. She looked up at me. Yes. Again, she surprised me. I am not looking for any type of attachment or commitment outside of our agreement. Don't come crying to me when you want romance and love. I want you, make no mistake, but I want you on my terms. I like to tease and torment my women. I like to make them squirm. I like to humiliate them. I want to do all of those things to you. And I think you will like the things I plan to do to you, or I wouldn't have chosen you. I hadn't planned on telling her all this so bluntly. I had never had to before. This wasn't how I normally operated, but it spilled out of me as if I were drunk on shots of tequila. Oh, I do that too. I just word vomit when I'm on tequila, but then I'm usually naked when I'm doing shots of tequila. So, hey, there was something different about her, and I wanted to make sure she had a way out if she chose. Her lack of experience, her innocence. I knew I would savor her torment, maybe too much. The reaction my hard cock had to her revelation let me know that. I would crush her. Please. No, it's her. Please, give me back my clothes. Let me explain this situation more clearly. Let's see if you understand what the overall expectations will be starting right now. You stay, you're mine. Mine to do with as I please. It's all in the contract you will sign. And right now, it pleases me to get you completely naked. You either take off the rest of your clothes right now or you leave and you never look back. Do you understand? She welled up. Her bottom lip quivered. She was about to cry. I wasn't a fucking rapist for Pete's sake. I threw her clothes at her and marched to the door and opened it. I had no idea why I had become so furious. She had no idea why I had brought her here, and I damn well knew it. Goodbye, Victoria. Leave. Now. As I slammed the door after me, anger engulfed me, and I felt that something again. A pang, a pang of longing, desire, a pain in my gut. Guilt? Fuck. Okay, that's the end of chapter 1. Whoop whoop. Oh, that's gonna be a series I'm gonna be finishing at some point in time in my life. It will take me a while to finish it, but thank you. Okay, so tonight's Thursday night. I gotta read Sunday, right? Is it Ebony? Did you tell me it was Ebony? Oh, you're more than welcome, Rose. I appreciate you letting me read it. It's very good. And yes, I will get around to finishing it, but you got to understand, I have like 50 books that I've started and haven't finished. Some I will, some I won't. This one I will at some point in time because I also work a full time job and I edit on the side. So thank you. I'm kind of known for my male voices. Oh gosh, yes, he is a prick. But, you know, I happen to be attracted to pricks sometimes. It's kind of crazy. I mean, I literally just want to fucking to death. And what am I reading of Ebony's? Oh, Axel's Anchor. That's what I'm reading of Ebony's. Okay. So E.S. McMillan, Sunday at 1 p.m., Axel's Anchor. So I believe that's it. Am I missing anything? You done got the platforms and the prices down. And like I said, Rose, thank you so much. And I appreciate you letting me read it. And I will be finishing it someday, someday in the future, and I will leave a review when I do finish it. I don't leave reviews until I finish. So don't sweat it if I don't get around to it anytime. Definitely not this year. Maybe not in the next year. You just never know. I'm doing good right now to finish 1 or 2 books a week, so I'm way behind. I happen to just love to work apparently and want to keep working instead of reading, but I love to read. So, all right, everybody, have a great weekend. I'll see you here Sunday at 1 o'clock and happy reading. Oh, don't forget, tomorrow's Naked Friday. Happy reading.